Everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs. You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions in gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And a big good morning to you as we start off another edition of the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show. I am the dad and
I am the son, James DeFreitas. We're here. If you have any gardening questions, we're here to take those. We're here. If you have real estate questions, we're here to take those as well. You can call in toll free 1-877-969-8600, or if you're local, it's 813-289-1860. We're here every Sunday morning from 7 to 9, and it just, it doesn't seem that early. It seems like it's just, every time I wake up an hour before, and I'm just beaming, gleaming, and I can't wait.
Well, you are a morning person.
Yeah, I just love getting up early. I mean, it doesn't everybody. I mean, you can hear the birds chirping. I can see the squirrels running around, and I think to myself, it's time to get up.
It's a wonderful world.
Right.
Well, and James actually is sort of that way. He feeds his squirrels. He has 2 dogs. He took a picture of the sunrise a week or 2 ago. It was a beautiful shot. He pulled over on the side of the causeway just to get a beautiful shot, and then he did it, I think, the weekend after.
I did. Every time just about, I'll if it's a beautiful sunrise, I'll take the time to take a look at it and make sure that everything is, that we're documenting nature's beauty. So that's it's one of the things that I like to do.
Well, and that's a good thing. I think so many times in life, we look at the bad things. I know if you're like me, I had a lady send something the other day on Facebook, and she goes, I'm so tired of politics. Republicans, Democrats, they all hate each other. And she said, I really like the idea of a gardening show where you're going to talk about that, or in some real estate. Mm-hmm. Those are both positive activities. I mean, I've met a lot of realtors over the last few years, and every one of them usually are go-getters. We're out there. The biggest compliment I can give to another realtor is, look, I'm going to call you back and treat you like you treat your clients. And they go, wow, if you can do what I do, then you're a really good person.
Exactly.
And we try that. I try to return calls. I'm amazed there are a few out there, like in every profession, who don't. And I'm always thinking you're in the wrong profession. I might say, sorry to see or to hear that Wilford Brimley died. And we have a connection there because when we were at the auctioneer school, the gentleman who looks like he could be a doppelganger for him actually had a connection with him because he used to be in charge of Liberty Medical.
He used to own Liberty Medical.
He was the owner of Liberty Medical, and he actually paid, I think Wilford, he said, $1 million a year for the commercial for not diabetes, but the other.
So he could do diabetes.
Diabetes.
Yeah.
I always think of diabetes, and I think of Cocoon, and I think of course,
his name was Keith.
Keith, yes.
Yeah, that came to me.
It came from the school there, yeah.
Yeah.
And Wilford, of course, been a former Marine, and you would think that. Did you know that Wilford was only 49 when he made Cocoon?
Oh, I thought you were going to say he was 49 when he died, and I said, wow, that's great skin cream.
No, he was the only one who was actually quite a bit younger than Crepe and some of the others, the cast members in Cocoon, which was kind of a classic, I thought, movie by Ron Howard. And, of course, I always think of Ron Howard first. I think of him as little Opie, but which is another. It's funny. Now, it's been around forever, and some days when I see that show on, I'll go, okay, I think I need to watch, Aunt Bee and Opie and Don Knotts, who was just fantastic as Barney Fife. I thought, what a great show. It's black and white, and I still like watching that show compared to some of the crud that we have on today. At least I know it was a simpler time, and it was a time maybe that, of course, was kind of a fictional time. But still, it's, and I think I've seen every show at least half a dozen times, and I still enjoy watching the show. So we're here, of course, to answer your gardening questions. One of the things I was going to say, in the old days, there was a guy named Lewis Maxwell, who was a very smart guy who wrote a little series of books. And you would say, well, what about putting in stuff early for vegetables? And he'd go, He said, there's a thing called hurricanes. And the reason we don't want to put them in too early, let's say everybody gets antsy, when it becomes the August and it becomes even September, you're in prime hurricane season. And you get all your little veggies out there and you have everything planted, and a hurricane comes through, and that's just enough that it blows your little tomatoes over and stuff. And unless you wanted to go out and dig everything back up, it's probably too early. He would say, look, October, 1st of October, when we get your stuff ready.
That makes sense, because there's no point in putting something out when you're going to get 2 feet of water and it's going to look like it's. I mean, you could see that what a hurricane does, even for a nasty tropical storm. You put the little seeds out and it starts to grow, and then they would just get decimated.
The little babies, they don't have enough strength yet normally, and of course you can stake them and do different things. And I've always loved the idea of veggie gardening. It's one of the things that I've enjoyed over the years, and I think I've grown most of the veggies that can be grown easily, and some that not in Tampa Bay. But I've enjoyed that. One of the things we have in my book, Stan DeFreitas' Complete Guide to Florida Gardening, is a schedule of when to grow things and how far to space them. So there's some information there. The seasons here are different. When people are used to growing things up north, you're used to growing, your June, July, August, maybe garden. But here it's 180 degrees different. We have a spring garden and we have a fall garden. And probably our best is the October, November, December, January. If we don't get a freeze, you have a little less as far as the bugs, a little less on fungus. Right now, if you get 3 or 4 days of rain from even just say a tropical depression, which could happen. Now, we're not going to get much, it seems, from the storm on the other coast, because it's going to ride up the state. But it's good. We had Robert Pankow on, and
yeah, he gave a lot of good information. I mean, one of the things that I did after we had him on the show is last time I was at the grocery store, I stocked up on a couple more gallons of water. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have 3 gallons of water per person per day in my house, because that would be like a lot of water. So, but again, definitely if you have, a couple extra gallons ready to go. And I think if you have, 10 gallons of water in your house, you'd be doing better than most. So, I guess, maybe 1 year I'll get really prepared for the storm that probably doesn't come.
Well, probably better to be prepared than have a problem.
Right.
But Robert, of course, I say he's done more stories on storms than anybody I know probably in the country, certainly in the Tampa Bay area. I know they're weathermen locally, and of course you notice they all get a big smile when a storm's coming up, because then they are front and definitely center, which is good, not taking away from them. But Robert does a great job of putting stories together, and he has for years, which he sends all over the country on storms. And he's quite good as he's been in all kind of news director, newsman type thing. He's a newsman. He's a newsman. He's done it all, and he's there. Anyway, we enjoyed that. Also, I was going to say, we had Julie Marcus on. I thought she did a great job too.
Supervisor of elections.
Supervisor telling us, and she didn't really make it a political thing. She didn't say, "Hey, vote for me," like some politicians might. No, she was, here's the information.
Yeah, and something that since you brought this up, something I'm a little confused on is I'm trying to. I almost wish we had her back on. I don't understand what this universal mail-in voting is versus absentee voting. I mean, now President Trump has made a huge distinction between the two, and I don't really understand if I understand what the distinction is.
Julie, you'll have to hit your speed dialer.
Yeah,
put you back on for.
Because I personally would like to know: is there a difference, or or is this a semantics kind of thing? Because I really don't know.
Right.
And one of the things that's good about you and I is when we don't know,
we'll ask.
We'll ask, and we'll find out. But no harm in saying you don't know. One of the things I do want to mention is that we do have an auction property that we signed up this past week, and so it's a great home. So the auction's going to take place on September the 12th at 1 p.m. It'll be on site, so it'll actually be at the location. And the address is 3886, so that's 3886 Crescent Cove Place, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34688. So, and again, anytime anybody wants to see it, they can. You just call us up, make an appointment, and just give us an hour's heads up, maybe 2 hours heads up, and let us know. Hey, I'd like to show my potential bidder buyer the property, and but it's a great home. I mean, there's just it's over 4,100 square feet. So it's it's all one level. It's very spacious inside when you walk in. Everything has a very it's just nothing. You're not going to be bumping butts in this house, which is a kind of nice thing. And one of the things that I think is incredibly important too is that when people go, and especially as we get older, one of the requirements for a lot of people when they're buying another house or they say they're moving up is that they want to make sure that it's on the first level and that there are no stairs. As we get older, people try to avoid stairs because of obvious problems that you can have. If you ever had any mobility issues, I don't care if you broke a toe once in your life, you'll know that walking upstairs is a challenge with even the smallest of problems. Yep. So
I do it every day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yours is for a very different reason, but yeah. But nonetheless, it's a gorgeous home, tile roof, beautiful wood floors in the house, and it's something that people should definitely go check out. You can go learn more about this particular home at AFLRE. That's AFLRE.com. And you can go to the upcoming and past auctions little link, click on that, and it will be the first one that will pop up.
You can sign up for this too, right?
What's that?
You can sign up for the AFLRE.
Yeah, and at the bottom of every page there is a sign up link. So if anybody wants to subscribe to the website, they can get all of the latest information about an upcoming auction or any of the stuff that we're doing. We're going to be here 813-289-1860. If you want to call, we'll be here for the next hour and a half.
Or 1-877-969-8600 will be the other way you can call in. And we want to make sure that you know that we're going to continue the talk on plants and real estate.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And one thing I might mention is we don't look at other realtors as competition. We look at them as customers.
Correct. We try to help them. They are all clients. I mean, we don't compete. And actually, all of our marketing that we do is geared towards real estate agents. It's not towards farming a community. The way typical agents work, and I'm saying this, so that just regular John Q citizens can understand. Typically agents will farm a community. They will send out postcards. They'll call. They'll find out, oh, Sally Lou's looking ready to sell her home. Oh, great. Let me put my, make sure I get my contact information in front of her. And then, of course, there's all kinds of services now where you click on something and then the next thing you know, you get 5 or 6 different advertisements for the things that you clicked on, and you're going, wow, they're mind readers. How did they do it? Mm-hmm. And so... But yeah, that's typically how real estate agents operate, is that they're trying to farm an entire community to become the leader in that community. And for us, it's a little different. We're out there trying to farm real estate agents, because we're trying to say, hey, look, we know that there's only so many properties any agent can take on. If they want to add another one to their tool belt or arsenal, then, maybe, let me send one of these to auction, because that way at least I can make the commission and I have to do minimal effort in order to get it sold. So we can be an extra, tool in their tool belt. And the other thing that we can do is if your property has been sitting too long and it's time to have somebody take a third look at it or a second look at it, then it's ripe for auction again. So, yeah, that's a great point that you made.
Yep, I think it is. Well, one thing I was also going to mention, going back to the Crescent Oak property, they've
That's
got
3886 Crescent Cove Place.
Cove Place. They've got a brick wall out in front of that development, and normally I look at brick walls and I go, yeah, okay, functional. Theirs is really quite attractive. I mean, very few times do you look at a brick wall and you go, boy, that's kind of interesting, and it's a very nice look. And theirs is also, would say, from a tennis point of view, and I haven't played tennis that much in the last few years at all, really. But before that, for 25 years, I captained a USTA tennis team and enjoyed it, and fairly good at my level. But I always thought that their courts up there were interesting. Now, Terry Addison, one of the, at least he was, I'll have to check, and they had some others that were quite good. I mean, we're talking world-class instructors and teachers in tennis.
Sure. So, yeah, no, absolutely, yes. I mean, first rate. And if memory serves me correctly, they have something unusual there. They have the red clay.
They've got red clay, which you don't see very often. I mean, you see the green clay everywhere just about, but you don't see that hard true.
You don't see the hard true
red clay.
Red clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's unusual there, and not only that, but they have some beautiful golf greens on that property, and one of our buddies, Ramsey, was out there playing. I guess he played that course a few weeks ago, and so I was asking him for some update, and he was saying, "Oh, it's great. You know, you got a lot of wooded area that's left on the greens off to the left, right before a lot of the houses. So you have kind of a, some courses you have where you're just, you're right on top of houses.
So that's where all his golf balls went.
Exactly, and there was a little tiny animal going up and grabbing it and bringing it down from Caddyshack. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it's one of those things where I wanted to find out a little bit more about the golfing community there. But it really is a really nice mix of golf and tennis at Crescent Oaks.
Yeah.
So if people haven't seen that community, they really ought to give it a second look. Now, it is up in Tarpon Springs, so, it's, for some people that might be a little too far north. But, if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, I think it's a great place to consider moving to because, there's just as we expand, as people tend to do, I mean, really going North Florida is really the only option people are going to have.
Sure. And when I'm always amazed, too, when I talk to folks, they'll go, where I used to live up north, I only had to drive an hour and a half and take a subway and this and that. And you go, well, how about a 30-minute drive north here to Tarpon? Oh, okay. So, yeah, it depends. A lot of folks know that the further north you go, often the better deal you can
you'll get better deals, absolutely.
Than, in the middle of Snell Isle. So certainly there are areas where you're going to find a good deal. And I think that's one of the good deals because, 4,000 square feet and the price is right. I mean, we're talking our minimum opening bid?
Yeah, our minimum opening bid on this property is $575,000. That's $575,000, and we're talking about a property that's worth easily $700,000. I mean, in my mind, it's worth $700,000 today, and I think in a few years from now, people will laugh that it was being offered at least at that opening bid at that price. And again, the minimum opening bid, that's not where it's going to sell at. We believe it'll go much higher. But again, one of the things that really separates us from other auction companies is that if you really love the home, there's no reason to wait for auction day. Go ahead and put in a pre-auction offer today.
Sure.
And and then that way it'll kill the auction. And we can take all of the mystery and question marks out of it, and for you and the seller, which is a beautiful thing. We get things closed a lot faster. We don't have to wait to the 12th. So a pre-auction offer might be the way to go. And so you definitely, if you're interested, go take a look at the property. It's at aflre.com, and you'll see it's right there. And, of course, we're here today to answer your gardening and real estate questions, 813-289-1860. We're here every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 in the morning.
Sure, you stay with us as the plant talk and real estate talk continues. Remember hit the speed dialer and we'll get right to you. Stay with us as the plant talk, real estate talk continues.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com.
Attention real estate agents. Need help selling a listing? Auction it off with RE/MAX Metro. So, auctions work. And with RE/MAX Metro, most auctions are scheduled within 45 days, selling at fair market value, and we'll guarantee your commission. Auction your Florida real estate with RE/MAX Metro. Go to aflre.com. A for auction, FLRE for Florida real estate. Call 727-423-4794 today or go to aflre.com.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, and you are?
And I am James DeFreitas, and we are here. If you have any gardening and or real estate questions, give us a call. You know, we're here at 813-289-1860, and we'll be here for another hour and a half. And so, you know, one of the things that I think is interesting is, especially from a real estate perspective, is that we all know, like right now, most of my real estate colleagues, I put it on the market and 2 days later it's sold. I mean, you know, and it's great. I'm absolutely thrilled for all of my real estate colleagues out there. I mean, it's, you know, one of the things I will say, though, is eat it up. You know, go ahead and enjoy this time, because it isn't always this simple, and especially people that are new to the business. I know people that have been in the business a long time. They know that it's a cycle. It's a cycle, and right at the moment we're experiencing. I don't think any of us quite expected that, you know, in the real estate market, that having a pandemic going, that there would be some uncertainty. We'd have a month or two of maybe some kind of a lull, but then boom, and then it was right back at it again. I mean, people literally are writing offers. I saw a friend of ours saying, well, I wrote 3 offers in the last 3 days. That's one every day.
That's great.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the kind of thing that's happening right now in the real estate market. So, you know, and I again, you know, we do have an inventory crisis. So the people that are selling out there, you know, it's moving, and it's moving not necessarily because the homes that are available are the greatest homes, but they're moving because there is so few of them. So, you know, and one of the things I would say is that, you know, this is a time too when there's so few, you know, choices on the market. Buyers, you know, look, you're going to have to get your offer in. Yes, there's going to be people that are going to want to put in secondary offers, and yes, agents, you should always take them if possible. And one of the things that I would also say is, you know, sellers are in a really unique position here. You know, maybe they don't need to do much to the property. Maybe they can just say, hey, you're buying it as is. I'm not putting any money into this. And by the way, if you don't like the terms and you want to get that inspection done, that's fine. I don't really care what it says in the inspection. I ain't fixing it. And they're in that position where they can say that because, you know, when there's very few homes in inventory, then, you know, hey guys, it's a seller's market, and accept it. That's where we are.
As is, where is, as we sometimes, well, we always say in the auction.
Yeah, we're saying that for a little bit different reason, though.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, we're saying that because in 99% of the auction properties that we're involved in, it doesn't matter the condition because you're not buying it based on any contingency. You know, so if there's something uncovered later, well, that was your due diligence to uncover it before the auction began. So, you know, however you see the properties, how you're going to get it. So, you know, and we don't care about appraisal, and we don't care about inspection and all this other stuff that usually causes a lot of perfectly good real estate transactions to go awry. And the reason for us is that, look, you know, if you want to get that inspection on the property, go right ahead.
We encourage it, actually.
And we do. We encourage people to go get an inspection. But it's not, you know, whatever the property gets bid up to, you know, the inspection should inform you as to how much you should bid. And, you know, and you should pre-plan in advance. Okay, well, I know that I'm going to need to replace the roof. You know, if that's the case, then you hold back $20,000 or something on your final bid price, so that that you've got that additional money set aside to do that thing. So, and whatever the repair is, I don't know what the repair could be, and quite honestly, I don't really want to know all of the intricacies. Stan and I's job is to auction the property, so we're there to get the most amount of money for the property in the shortest amount of time.
Correct.
That's our job, So, but at the end of the day, buyers have the opposite idea in mind. They're there to get the property for the least amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And that's why we do attract a lot of investor types who will come in and they'll want to try to buy the property, and they're either looking at it as a flip or maybe a rental or a high-end rental. When you're talking about properties in the $600,000 to $700,000 range, I mean, it's a fairly high-end rental in my world. And again, the other advice I could give people too is, if you have access, and again, there's really no reason not to have access to it because it's all public record. If you're interested in a property, download those homeowners documents in advance. And yes, they are not wonderful reads. Okay, I know that. They're, it's like reading stereo instructions. They're not that interesting. However, as they say, the devil's in the details. And you need to look to see what the rental requirements are. Maybe you have to own the property for a year. Maybe there aren't. Maybe you're just not allowed to rent the property. And again, a lot of times we'll see this every day. People will go buy a property for a particular type of use, and then they'll be very. They'll get that sticker shock, or feel that panic in their gut, going, "Oh my goodness, what did I do?" Again. An ounce of prevention, that's what you want to think of when you're going into real estate transactions. The more knowledge you have, the better. So we do encourage inspections. We do encourage, for that matter, if somebody wants to get an appraisal, they absolutely can. It'll be on your nickel for both of those things, because we're not selling it to you based on an appraisal or based on an inspection.
Sure. So go ahead and do your due diligence and make sure you know what you're getting, because that's important. We want you to be happy. And if you know everything, I just heard of a client that we used to have who he's wanting to buy another house, and apparently he's going to have to put a roof on it. He's going to have to put an electrical box in. And of course, those are things that you ought to know up front if you're going to have to do that. And make sure you know that, because often the banks don't often want to loan money if there's a roof that has to be put on. That's kind of a biggie for them.
Sure.
So you may have to figure out how you're going to get that roof put on. And, if you're an investor, often investors come in with a crew, and those guys are going to strip off the roof. They're going to put a new roof on. They're going to paint it. They're going to put in drywall. They're going to do whatever has to be done. Often they have either their crew, or they know of the right electrician or the good plumber, and they can say, hey, here's the guys that are going to come in and fix this up. But they have to know up front, often, here's what it's going to cost, and add that into, if you're going to do a flip, like we just met the Crescent Oak property, I think that would be a great property for somebody to do a little updating on. Maybe, as you said, upper end rental. You could have a nice upper end rental with a really nice client, maybe, or live there yourself. Or you could try to into the $100,000 rentals, and it's going to be far different in often the activity that you're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, the Crescent Cove place that we're talking about that's going to be up for auction coming up on September the 12th at 1 o'clock. One of the things that I would say is, if, let's say you're not, in the 25 to 35 years of age bracket. Say you're looking for a larger home, but you're looking for that home that you can live in for the rest of your life. This could fit that bill. Mm-hmm. It's one level. There are no stairs. The flooring in the place is immaculate. It's easily traversable in the place. It's got a lot of features that you would wind up having to add to your home anyway in terms of mobility. It is one of these things where I cannot stress it enough. As we get, and again, having this conversation with somebody in their 20s is pretty worthless, because when they're in their 20s, they're Superman. They can do anything. It weighs 180 pounds. No problem. I'll lift that, put that on my back, and take it up the stairs. No big deal. But as you get older, and as I have learned, it takes every little thing that you do adds up in terms of, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was a little too much stress on the spine. Maybe
I was thinking of Chuck.
Yeah.
A good guy who, when he was younger, used to call himself Baby Huey or whatever, because he would lift up these big air conditioners and move them around, and because he could, he didn't, I think if he were here on the phone, and he's not, but if he was, he would go, hey, youngster, when you're 20, just because you could, don't do that. Don't try to lift up that big air conditioner.
And that's a good point. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, And so I mean, you get one back in this world, and all I can say is treat it with care, because it's very unforgiving if you think that, it'll heal. Well, yeah, it probably will, maybe. And if it doesn't, then you'll be talking to an orthopedic surgeon, and then you'll be making some decisions that will impact you forever. So, but these are things you cannot have a conversation with 20-year-old kids, because they know, I feel great and everything is perfect. And what are you talking about? That's not me. That's you. You're old, Right. And I'm thinking, well, one day you will get older and you will understand, what pain is really about. Because it doesn't get better like the very next day. I think for my age, again, I'm not that old, but I'm 42, and I'll be 42 this coming week, actually.
Seems impossible, because how could I have, being your older brother?
Yeah, right. Yeah, people almost believe that. But no, I mean, but what I do realize is that things take a lot longer to heal. It's not an overnight experience anymore, where I'll wake up and I'll go, it's still kind of feeling something here. This isn't right. So then, and then I have to put everybody off, because, I'm walking around, I started to say Eckerd's. There's no Eckerd's anymore. CVS and Walgreens is all we have now. So I was walking around Eckerd's, and, and I'm smelling like menthol everywhere I go, and everyone's staring at me. I mean, this is your reality. This is a wake-up call. So when you're in your 20s and everything, and you've got the Superman cape, eventually you'll be walking around going, where's the icy hot? I need this on my back.
Or I could say Walmart. I've moved my prescriptions to Walmart. I was going to CVS, and they just didn't seem very friendly. And I don't know how to describe that other than, I met the pharmacist, nice lady who was an older lady at Walmart, and I won't say older. She's not probably much older than me, but she was very nice, very sweet, and when they hand you the thing,
was there camaraderie? Did she already smell like icy hot?
She came out and said, "Hey, if you have any questions," they have the actual pharmacist hand you the product and say, "Do you have any questions?" Which I thought was great.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, the icy hot conversation will continue when we come back. 813-289-1860. We're trying to cater to our crowd.
Or 813-289-1860, as you said, or 1-877-969-8600 will put you on the air with us. We are here to answer all your gardening questions, your icy hot questions, and real estate questions all in one. So stay with us as it continues.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're here to answer your gardening questions. And I see we've got some of our friends on Facebook, so we're glad they're there. I was going to say, Jan, I was thinking of Paul the other day when G-Man Choi tried to steal from second to third, and it was a hit out there in left field, but probably the slowest guy on the team is G-Man. I was thinking, no, don't send him, because, the ball was there at third about 3 seconds before G-Man made it there. And I was thinking, if it was Kiermaier, yeah, okay, I might have sent him. I think he had a 50-50 chance of making it. But Also going to talk about hitting. I need to call Paul sometime. What happens? Sometimes our guys can hit okay for the Rays, and other times I'm thinking, you guys need to be locked up in batting cages for like 24 hours at a time because they're swinging at crud and not, sometimes I'm wondering, did you have a batting coach work with you on how to hit a ball? I'm not a professional ball player, but I played a lot of ball as a kid.
KK Root Beer.
Hey, most valuable player. It's funny, when I was 10, I found out my grandmother's cousin was Ty Cobb, and I led my team in stolen bases and hits, partly because if you think you can, you can.
Hey, Jan's got a question for you.
All right.
And she says, what are good balcony herbs to plant? I currently have basil.
Basil, okay. Rosemary might be a good choice, for an herb. I love rosemary because I can't make chicken or fish without rosemary on it. And it really adds a lot to it, You might do that. I was thinking the mint family, and there's a bunch of different mints, from chocolate mint to spearmint to, you can almost have a plethora of different kinds of mints that you could have. Mm-hmm. I've got some thyme I've had now for a couple of years, and I love the thyme. Thyme is great as an herb to be able to put into different dishes.
Sure.
And so those are all herbs that will do well. I mean, they're all kind of in the mint family.
Sure.
Even, I'm trying to think some of the others that I mentioned, the rosemary, we mentioned thyme. Thyme's also in the mint, kind of a general family.
Right.
So that would be a choice. I'm trying to think of some other things that we use. But all those would be, rosemary is tough. It'll take the balcony conditions probably better. Now, basil, I find basil to be, even though it's in sort of the mint family, it's kind of the weak sister of the bunch. It seems to eventually peter out earlier than you want. So when your basil looks really good, I would think about taking some cuttings and drying some of it and processing it. Mm-hmm. And much like I do moringa, or I should say the lovely Mrs. GT does for me.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot. There's a lot of different kinds here. I mean, I think a chamomile is being a tea, but I guess that could potentially be something you could use as an herb.
Sure.
Is that something people grow?
Yes, they grow chamomile.
Okay.
Chamomile's more in the daisy family.
Okay, and then I've never heard of this. This is called oat straw. Never heard of that.
That's a possible.
Lavender.
Lavender, not as much. I mean, you won't see it in the average nursery as much. Now, I say that you probably can get seed.
Raspberry leaf.
Raspberry leaf. Okay.
Nettle leaf.
Yeah, nettle leaf. That would be another one you're not going to find as easily in the nursery.
Yarrow flower, and I mean that's another one, and a motherwort. I never heard of most of this stuff, but anyways, all of these things, when I type in herbs, just to give you some different thoughts, they are out there. So, I think we tend to think. I think everyone thinks of basil, and I think they think of rosemary. But once you've named those two, in time, I guess that's the other. So there's the big three. Those are kind of the three biggies for herbs. But once you get outside of that, I think people tend to draw a blank.
Well, because they're not always available, and that would be the. And when you raise something from seed, now there's not that hard to raise from seed often, but most of us don't do it. And you have to have some like a little egg tray or something that you had that would work well. An egg carton. You can put a little material in there to use as a wick system.
Sure.
Keep it moist. Remember, if seed dries, it dies, and that's pretty basic. So that's important. You can grow. I mean, like right now, I'm growing a lot of marigolds. I've been kind of like fun. How many marigold seeds can I put out there and put some out around the mailbox?
You're just having some fun with it because it's free.
Well, yeah, I guess if it's free, it's for me.
It's fun and free.
I like recycling, and when you think about nature and you think about seeds, is there anything that's more recycling than seed?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the whole. Circle of life thing going on there. But, it's funny when you were talking about Jan's question with herbs. it got me thinking because I was looking at this picture that I saw on Google here, and it was pulling up all kinds of herbs and had a lot. Again, when they're put out in a market scenario like this is, you start to think of it in terms of all the different colors that are there, and it made me harken back to when I took a trip to Istanbul, Turkey, and one of the big tourist attractions there is the spice market. Mm-hmm. And, there's spices and herbs. And, I mean, one of the things that I don't think we realize is just what as I was saying. I mean, we think of herbs, we think of there's the top three. But when I was in the spice market, I mean, it's just row and row and row of spices I'd never heard of,
and probably names you hadn't heard of.
Of course. I mean, and it could be the same name, but a different name for something else. So that there's that. But I mean, the array of colors, from opaque white to all the way to the spectrum. I mean, they even had some dark-looking, black-looking spices that I had no idea what they were. Probably different kinds of peppers or something like that.
Maybe mushrooms or something even.
Who knows? But I do know that that's an interesting place in terms of the variety and the things that you'll see. And, of course, they had the Grand Bazaar, and they had lots of different you can't go more than 5 blocks without running into somebody wanting to sell you a rug in Istanbul.
You buy any rugs?
I did not, but I partook in the free tea that was being provided. If you sat through their little demonstration showing you how basically what they do is they bring you into a little room. I call it the sweat box, to try to get you to buy something, much like going to a car dealership here in the United States. You will get out of the sweat box once you buy that car. But anyway,
or a timeshare.
But yeah, actually, we could learn something. I mean, at least there in Istanbul, they gave you free tea. And again, it's always the same kind of tea. If you've ever been to Istanbul, they seem to really like this apple-based tea. It has, it's cheap. And then of course they like to give it away as like a cup of coffee here. So. Interesting place. Wouldn't go back today, but it was fun to go then.
If I want to grab some tea or coffee, remember it's 1-877-969-8600 or 813-289-1860. We'll put you on the air with us, and as we continue, second hour coming up where we talk about real estate, we talk about plants, we talk about, herbs and anything else that may help you.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com.
Attention real estate agents. Need help selling a listing? Auction it off with RE/MAX Metro. So, auctions work. And with RE/MAX Metro, most auctions are scheduled within 45 days, selling at fair market value, and we'll guarantee your commission. Auction your Florida real estate with RE/MAX Metro. Go to AFLRE.com. A for auction, FLRE for Florida real estate. Call 727-423-4794 today or go to AFLRE.com.
For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions in gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I am Stan DeFreitas, and you are?
And I'm James DeFreitas, and we are here. If you have any gardening and or real estate questions, we're going to be here for another hour, and then you'll have to wait till next week to ask those questions. But you can get us at 813-289-1860 or 1-877-969-8600 toll free, and we're here, so if you want to call in, please do so.
I thought of a funny story. And that was of Jan and Paul Porter. I did a landscape project for them 20-some years ago at their when they had a home. They weren't living in a condo, which I think they are now. And so I was out there doing the landscape. And, of course, I call it land scraping, which means you're jumping on shovels and putting stuff in the ground. And I did more of that then. I don't do so much of that now. I don't do any of it right now, but I did then some. Actually, I was in the van that you ruled 3 times.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that back.
Yeah, good memory.
Yeah, that was a story in my brain I had almost forgotten. Thanks for bringing that back.
Bringing that one back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was out there. Paul came out to see me. Paul Porter, as you all know him as Mr. Magic and Mr. Lightning.
Paul Pipes Porter.
And who does a show here, too. We'll give him a little plug, so he'll plug me someday. I know he has on 860, The Answer. Anyway, he came out and he goes, "You did it. You had a hat trick." I said, "What do you mean I got a hat trick?" And he says, "Well, you hit the cable, my fax, and my phone lines are all out now." And I said, "Well, at least I'm consistent, by jumping on the shovel." So I thought was today you can call and check with power lines, but with the cable and stuff, they usually put it about a half inch under the ground.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
The diligence really isn't there.
And they don't even, it's hard to say, well, this is a straight line on where it would go. Mm-hmm. No. It could be like a wandering snake. Anyway, I thought that was a cute little story.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the AskMrGreenthumb.com website, we had let's see here, his name is Mr. Bill Norris. Bill. Not related to Chuck, but right. Anyway, he says, "Hey, Stan, what's wrong with my crepe myrtle?" And here's the photo of it, and I'm putting it up on this. I can't put it on the screen.
When I look at that, it looks like it's all sprouting out on the stems in the main trunk.
Right.
Which tells me there's probably some kind of major happening to it. I'd almost want to look at some of the root system. I'd be digging down to check it out because it's sprouting out where it shouldn't be sprouting out. And that's not necessarily healthy looking, in my opinion. So, Bill, I'm thinking I want to do some more checking. If it were mine, I'd want to. It looks like it's probably been around for a long time. It's crepe myrtle, Largostremia indica is the Latin name for it. It's something else is going on there because when you're just getting what I call a little superfluous growth on the stem and branches, you've got some kind of problem going on.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never seen one look quite like that.
Normally they sprout back out. I mean, personally, I'd like to do some specific trims when you trim on it. I know that the fashionable thing is, for most of the maintenance crews, get your guy on rollers and let him just, go at 100 miles an hour, just take the tops off. Not my favorite way of trimming a crepe myrtle, but it's the standard that people seem to do. It's almost like you're in Europe and they're doing a pollard where they trim everything back to nothing.
And they love doing that there.
And typically, it's really in America that would be considered really wrong. And yet, if you're in Paris or some of the other areas,
that's really right. They
do it all the time, and the trees seem to survive over there with it. It's like they're used to it, but. It would normally be here, we'd call it hat racking, and we would say, no, that wouldn't be the technique to do, except for crepe myrtles are done that way all the time.
So hat racking and tree topping, same idea?
You're just taking something way back, to a main branches, and then, I'd rather cut back to a branch, especially if it's an oak or something, cut back to a where it's coming off the trunk. So we're not just leaving big stubs. It's really not really right for the tree, not healthy. And often when you get this new whippy growth that comes off, it's not really well attached.
Is that a technical term, whippy?
There is. If it can be a whip that comes off a growth, it's not real. It's not a strong connection. So when a hurricane comes through, it can blow it off.
Aha!
But there again, trim. Planting things in the right location. It's like my neighbor John. I told him many years ago when they put things. I said I wouldn't put those oaks underneath your power line. And he went, no, he was going to do it. And I said, well, all right, go ahead and do it. But
I have to admit, John has a really nice landscape around
he
his
does.
house.
I won't pick on him too much. And he's almost very helpful when it comes to getting a strap for pulling your truck out.
It was a Sunday. Cut the man a break.
Saturday, but
Saturday, sorry.
He was almost very helpful. But
I
won't go into that.
John.
Oh,
I love John. John's a great guy.
Oh, he is. I'm just picking on him. But... and now and forevermore. But I'm not the kind to hold a grudge, ever, never. But we're here to answer your gardening questions. I know we'll have a few people who hopefully will call in with their questions. I had one lady last week said she wanted to call in about maybe even a franchising that she was into. And I said, if you want to give us a jingle, we'll let you do a free promo. If somebody has a special property, we might let you mention it. We work with everybody. You know, we've worked with Berkshire Hathaway. We worked with Remax, of course, now, and we love them all. So there isn't an agency out there we wouldn't work with. We love to help our fellow realtors, whoever you're with. If you're an independent and you've got a property, you need to get it auctioned, we'll do our level best to try to help you. And I think that's good. I know we're working with a lady right now, Pam, and she may call in next week. She has this property that she says, hey.
Absolutely. Pam Davidson, she's, or Davison, sorry. I always want to add a D to that, but it's Davison.
That's because we knew a Davidson.
That's true. That's probably why. But she's a wonderful agent, and, and it's one of these types of things where, again, our relationship that we tend to have, yes, we're going to have a relationship with the end client user, but we're making relationships more with real estate agents than per se the actual clients themselves. We will develop a relationship with the actual client, but 99% or 90% of the time, our properties are coming to us based on, an agent who's already had the property. So, and then you're saying, well, why would they want to bring the property to you? And it's because we make sure they get paid.
That's important.
It's important. As Stan and I have both said multiple times, we could hand out thousands of business cards, but if I hand out a check with your name on it, you're more likely to remember us as somebody who is helpful to your cause. And that's what we like to do. We like to get properties sold. We like to get commissions paid out. And then when you have another interesting property comes your way, you'll go, I trust those guys. I know those guys are going to do what they say.
Now, we just had a new property in Crescent Oaks. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, I had two calls, one of them within 30 minutes of it going live on MLS, which I was surprised.
Well, it's priced really correctly in terms of its minimum opening bid. I mean, it's a very attractive minimum opening bid, and it's actually a very low reserve on this particular property. I'm not going to tell you what the reserve is, but I will say this. Type in 3886 Crescent Cove Place. That's enough. I don't even think you have to put in the city, which is Tarpon Springs. But if you type in the 3886 Crescent Cove Place, you'll see what a beautiful home this is.
I love their red roof. I think that's nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful home.
Nicely landscaped too.
Yeah, and I, as you've said before, I think this is a property that's going to go in a pre-auction scenario, a pre-offer auction scenario. I don't even think it's going to make it to auction. And unlike other auction firms, we see no reason to make the seller and the buyer wait. If there's an attractive price that's being offered to the seller, I love the idea of getting into a competitive bidding war on auction day. That's always a fun thing. But if the seller and the buyer want to do it, why would I want to hold it up? I just don't see the point in it, and I'm not going to do it. So we're going to get that property. We're going to get the contract signed, sealed, delivered, as they say, in that great song. So, but anyway, so definitely take a look at that. Yeah, if you want to go to the website at aflre.com, that stands for Auction Florida Real Estate. You can go and you can look at it there. If you have somebody that's in the real estate business, then of course they can go to MLS and they can look it up that way as well.
I've had a number of investor types who called me over the last month or two saying, hey, can we sign up to the AFLRE, and when we see something, we can go to our agent, and we can put an offer in before auction? And I said, sure you can. I mean, we like to auction property, but as James pointed out, if we could connect the dots, the seller to the buyer, if we can help folks, that's our main goal. And if we can get it done sooner, that's even better. In fact, the one lady who was seeing the agent the other day said, look, she wants to buy something this weekend. She's flown in. She wants to look at stuff, and she wants to buy, and she'll put a pre-offer in on that particular property if she wants it. Mm-hmm. And so I know they were gung-ho, and so I'm just amazed. There are a number of agents out there who I will say who are just real go-getters. You call them, they're boom, they're going to get back to you. They're going to follow through on stuff. They're going to give you a listing of here's the latest, greatest properties in your price range.
Right, and to give a special shout-out, too, to the agents at Remax Metro. These are some of the most successful agents that I mean, again, I know I'm biased because I work at the company, but I'm shocked. I mean, again, these agents they're the best you're ever going to find. They're the best of the best. These are people that. And one of the things I would point out too is that at RE/MAX Metro and at most of the RE/MAX locations, they do not take brand new agents. So you have to be established. You have to have had some time in the business, demonstrated your expertise, so to speak, and that's part of how you get brought into RE/MAX. And but the agents at RE/MAX Metro really are second to none.
Yeah, they're great. And even in our case, the owner, he met with us to begin with, said, hey,
oh, yeah.
I want you guys, it's not like somebody's going to go, hey, we had a pretty good run.
Right.
No, we had somebody who said, I want you, I'm willing to work with you, and I really think this is a division for our company.
Yeah, I love Rick, I love Marcus, I love Cindy, Stacy Struby. I love all of these people that we work with. They're kind, wonderful, professional people. And we couldn't be happier at RE/MAX Metro. If you want to give us a call, it's 813-289-1860 or 877-969-8600.
And we want to make sure you stay with us as the plant talk and real estate talk continues here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And I was going to mention, we, of course, had Robert Pankow on a week ago, did a great job. Now, we were all blessed now that we're not having the storm coming across our side. But if it had come around the state, which it could have, if it moved, those things wibble and wobble sometimes. Mm-hmm. It always amazes me. They'll say, well, it's going to go this path. Well, when the path can vary quite a bit, and so can the
as soon as we had him on and we discussed the potential, we jinxed it. So we should just have him on every time there's a potential storm out there to prevent the storm from hitting us. That's the trick, right?
Well, you can't get anybody any better than Robert Pankow. When it comes to storm stories, he is the man. There is no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's definitely a wealth of knowledge, and so that's always a good thing to have him on.
And I've been doing this routine for about 40 years on radio and television. I first started in radio in about 1977 on WPLP, which was AM 570, which is, funny enough, is owned by our station here as well. But when I was there, it was people listening to people.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of actually a precursor. It was there before FLA became one of the dominant players in talk. And, of course, I wonder how that's going to happen when Jack goes, which he'll retire in the next year or two probably, and Mr. Limbaugh goes. I wonder how things will happen there.
It'll be interesting times. But
yes,
I've been doing this radio thing now for all of 13 weeks. So
you veteran, you.
I know. I've got lots of weeks involved in my time here. But I will say, having grown up in your house and watched you do this for many, many years, there was no fear in doing any of this because I've seen you do it. And basically on Sunday mornings, I'm getting up, having coffee, and talking to Dad. So that's... it's a little bit different than if you were out there just starting a radio show for yourself, or, and of course now you see on online, you see tons of people doing podcasts and stuff like that. And, of course that doesn't, you have to build an audience in that way too.
Just they can hear us as well on a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually there's one thing that's good to mention is that if, I know a lot of people that have the Apple phones. If you have an Apple phone, then you can certainly turn on the Apple Podcasts. And if you go to the Apple Podcast app and you search Ask Mr. Greenthumb, you can pull up all of our past shows and you can listen to them no matter where you are. If you're driving around in the car, you can use your Bluetooth and have it put on your radio there, and you can listen to us that way. Or if you're bopping around your house or what have you, which is a lot of people are still. It's amazing to me the amount of people that are still at home. I know people are getting tired of the pandemic and stuff like that. So, but I still see a lot of people staying at home, although I do see a lot of traffic out there. So I know not everyone is doing that. But yeah, we've got you covered. Either way, if you want to listen to us live, you certainly can do that. We're also on Facebook Live, so we're simulcasting the show multiple ways. And so if people have gardening and or real estate questions, they can ask and just go right on Facebook, and you can type in Ask Mr. Greenthumb, or you can type in just Stan DeFreitas. Actually, today I think we're just on your personal account because, to be honest, I couldn't really figure out how to get to your other account via the iPad app for Facebook because Zuckerberg has made it too complicated for me to figure that out.
We'll have to bring him in before Congress and find out why.
Right, exactly. We'll haul him in.
1-877-969-8600 or 813 locally, 813-289-1860. You know, being a real estate and gardening show, you're going to see that we're easy to work with. We're not going to try to make you look bad. We're not going to try to give you a hard time. If you're a realtor and you want to call in, we encourage it. If you have a special story about maybe a closing that went well or didn't go well or a problem, you can mention that as well. Or if you got a plant question. You know, I had Richard Parm. My buddy says he's going to call in each week. He hasn't, but he did have a question, and I'm going to probably answer that. He wants to know about planting some seed for wildflowers. And I'm going to probably, when he calls in, I'll mention it now. You know, it's fine to get the seed. Make sure you keep the seed moist. I'm going to recommend probably that you wait till October, because I think right now there's so much potential. You know, if you get 4 or 5 inches of water in one day, your little seedlings will probably get blown away. And I know he's got a property that's kind of out and open. He's kind of in, I bet civilization is coming toward him now. But I remember seeing his property some years ago. It was pretty open and kind of wooded. The problem with most of your wildflowers is they need full sun. So you may find those spots where you've got bright sun, and that would be where at least the daisy group, and that's half of our wildflowers where I would want to plant them.
Sure. Well, we might mention to you, if you have any gardening and or real estate questions, we're going to be here for another half an hour, and then you'll have to catch us next week. Give us a call, 813-289-1860. We are here for your gardening and or real estate questions.
As the plant talk and real estate talk continues.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial problems with flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're here to help you. We've had Yvette who's been waiting for a little bit. Yvette, I did a home call about a week or so ago, and I said, hey, Yvette, she had an interesting franchising idea that she does, I guess, around the world. And I thought, hey, that would be interesting for you to call in with. And so she has.
Good morning.
Yvette, good morning.
Good morning, Stan, James, and good morning, listeners. I'm here to talk about franchising. It is the ideal opportunity for those who are looking to start a new business, particularly if it's in a new industry. By choosing a franchise, business owners are still able to be their own boss and make their own decisions, but without the stress of starting a business from scratch. You may be thinking, but with everything going on around us, is now the right time? Yes, now is the time. History demonstrates that entrepreneurs are often born after a recession or a major historical event. The consultants at Global Bridge Network, we're here to provide guidance and support as you navigate your way through the franchise process. So give us a call, 813-419-0806. In our website, we also have a free assessment to see if franchising is for you. Go to www.globalbridgenetwork.com. We want to work with you. Stan, thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Greenthumb, and also for restoring health to our trees.
Well, I'm glad to be a help to you on the consult. And I know you were saying that in the franchising right now, a lot of folks are going into the restaurant business. I mean, a third of the restaurants are probably going to be going out of business. And, of course, we can help to auction those businesses off and their equipment. But also, it's probably one person's, misfortune is probably another person's opportunity.
That is correct. And you're right on the point. The American Restaurant Association has the statistics as of the month of May that 4 out of 10 restaurants are going to go out of business, and that
40%.
was in May.
Wow. It seems that way, too, when you drive around, or I know we were looking for restaurants in our new home down at St. Petersburg, where we have the RE/MAX office. We were amazed that, some of the agents would say, go here, go there, go here, go there, and we'd go to those different places.
A lot of locked doors.
And they were closed.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a franchise called We Sell Restaurants, which is one of our franchises. We represent over 300 of franchises. And that franchise particularly is doing very well because, like you said, you're not only selling the restaurant, but also the assets, the property, and, like in what you do, the auction can also take place.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to do that.
Well, we thank you for the call, and we hope that you get some folks. Maybe give your phone number out one more time.
Yeah, please.
813-419-0806.
All right.
Fantastic.
Yvette, thank you for the call.
Thank you for calling.
Let's go to Anthony. I know he's been holding for quite a while, too. Anthony, you've got, a crabapple tree?
Good morning, Anthony.
Hey, good morning, guys. No, I don't have a crabapple tree. I want a crabapple tree, but I don't have one. I grew up on the East Coast, and I grew up on crabapples. And there's not a whole heck of a lot of them here in Florida. I was wondering, would I be able to plant a crabapple tree here and have it flourish, or is it going to wither and die?
Yeah, it's probably not going to do that well. Now, where are you from? Up in maybe New York area, or?
No, actually, the Massachusetts area.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have a New England accent, but...
No, it took about 30 years to get rid of that.
'Cause at one point, I used to be on like 100 stations on a network around the country, and I had a lady call every week. She'd go, "Don't do too much gardening, but I like talking to the gardening guy. It's about 12 degrees up here." And it was up in Dover. I had a little station, and she was just great. She'd call in a half hour early and drive Sonny just nuts because she'd go, "I want to be the first caller on his gardening show," and he was doing a financial show, and he'd go, "That lady is holding up one of my lines for a half hour." And I go, "Sonny, she knows you're trying to steal her money, and she knows I'm trying to help her." And, of course,
I think I know her.
Yeah, she was a great lady. She was great. Anyway, Anthony, I don't know. There are some apple trees that grow here. The Anna, the Einshamir, Golden Dorset. The problem I've always had with any of that family is that they fungus up here. We get spots on the leaves, and they drop the foliage early. Okay. And I even grew 2 peaches. I had 2 peach trees that did pretty well, and they're kind of second cousins of the apple group. But they, of course, and I had squirrels that, seemed to get more of my peaches than I ever did. But, at the time I was, my son, who is now a squirrel feeder, is out there loving them all the time.
Really?
I was trying to figure out how I could use them as the other white meat. But
well, that's what the 22 is for.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, I'm looking up recipes on how to, you can put them on a spit, and
delicious. Have you eaten a squirrel?
I have not, but I have heard from folks who have that say it actually is quite good.
Fellas, let me tell you, we went up to Mount Monadnock. We were actually stuck there for 3 days because the tour guide's horse went lame, and we had to stay there. And we had a certain amount of food that they allotted us for the 4-day trip. And just for giggles, this guy decides to go out and hunt a few squirrels, I guess, to give us the experience. And he dressed these things out, and he put them on a spit, a little salt, pepper. And let me tell you something, fellas. It was delicious.
Well, we'll have to take your word on that. I mean, again, I will say this. Never knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
Right. So, basically, I figured the crabapple tree, since it's wild, it would be a little bit tougher than the cultivated trees. But you're telling me that's not going to work.
Well, I think you could try it, and I never say never, because when I put out peach trees, my neighbor said they wouldn't do well. I mean, I had a neighbor one time tell me at my other house in Clearwater that tulips wouldn't do well. and I put them in the refrigerator bin, and I put them out, and he said they'll never sprout. Well, they sprouted. He said they'll never flower. They flowered.
Okay.
Can I tell you that I think we're in, the Keukenhof or Aalsmeer like you are in Holland? No. But if you're willing to, drive your significant other nuts by, putting the vegetable bin full of tulip bulbs, can it be done? Well, sure, it can be done. And I did it mainly because I'm one of those Don Quixote types, tell me I can't try to do something. And I'm probably going to try it just because I don't like folks telling me what I can't do.
So the next question is, do we have any windmills?
We should. We should. Well, at least the real slow ones, so we're not killing too many birds. But, in Holland, there's, I loved it. I was over there, a guy at one of the windmills in Holland, and I was with Bob Hoke. We were filming 6 TV shows for PBS locally.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so that was fun. And we went to this windmill, and the guy said his family had only been there for the last 600 years. And they had it marked on there. The guy was great. He went out to his cow. He brought me some coffee, and he had cream from the cow out right in front of the windmill. And I thought, boy, I kept looking for Haley Mills and the windmills thing. You'd have to be a certain age to know what I'm going there with, but. It was. Oh
yeah, the what was it? The Flying Nut? Not the Flying Nut.
Well, it was one of those shows that she did with the windmill thing. And you say youngsters today would go, "Who is Haley Mills?" But if you
she was a cutie.
She was, yeah, she was. She was always.
I'm trying to think of that movie where is it the twins, where she plays herself, and I'm trying to think of it. I've seen it.
Right. That was the Parent Trap.
That's
Parent
it.
Trap.
Yeah, that was a classic.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, we were in Holland. We went to the Keukenhof. I kept saying it's like ODing on Godiva chocolate. You saw just acres and acres of tulips and bulbs, and it was beautiful. So, Anthony, we appreciate your call. We want you to give us a call again next week.
I will. I definitely, guys. Hey, you have a great show. Every morning I wake up, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Oh, thanks so much. We appreciate that.
You're a good man. We thank you, Anthony. Let's go to Nadia, too, who's in Tampa. She has a question about her hibiscus.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I purchased a home last year, my first home.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. And I was attempting to do my own landscape. So I purchased a few hibiscus plants from a local nursery, and we put them in probably like in November, and they were doing great. They were blooming. And just recently I trimmed them down probably about 45 days ago, and I haven't seen any bloom. So I didn't know if it was something just by trimming them that's why they're not blooming, or something additional that needs to be done.
Well, just remember that all plants are either in vegetative growth cycles or in flowering cycles. And when you trim back a hibiscus way back like you have, you've now put it back out. I bet it popped out with a lot of foliage, and that's normal. And it will get back into the flowering cycle. But right now, the plant's kind of triggered into, hey, I've got to get back. I don't have the foliage. I can't make the photosynthesis that I used to. So now I need to pop out foliage everywhere so that we have a chance of getting back to where we are. I think it's kind of like people. When we diet, we lose weight, and then the body goes, hey, what did you do? And as soon as you eat some more bread and pasta, it comes back, sometimes with more abundance than you wanted before. And the same thing's kind of a wild analogy, but sort of with plants. As soon as you cut that top foliage off, it comes back and goes, hey, I can't put energy into flowering right now. I got to put energy back into surviving. And so it will go back into a flowering cycle, but remember, every time you trim something back, and sometimes with hibiscus you have to. I mean, when you get them from the nursery, they're cute, they're about the right size, and then, 6 months later, you're going, gosh, it's taken over the eaves of my home.
Yes.
And so you have to trim it back. And then when you do, you're putting it back into a vegetative growth cycle. And I'd rather do that now. Sometimes people wait till like October, November, and they trim it back really hard. And then you're putting out a lot of new foliage right before we may get a freeze, though it's hard to think of freeze here, but we can, and that can be like a double problem sometimes. When we get down below freezing for any length of time, hibiscus don't like it, but, I love hibiscus because they bloom almost every day of the year when you haven't trimmed them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Nadia, I appreciate the phone call. Now, make sure, Nadia, I want to thank you for being with us, and we hope that you'll give us a call next week as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you have any gardening and or real estate questions, give Stan or myself a call, 813-289-1860. And, of course, we're here every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 in the morning.
As the Plant Talk and Real Estate Talk show continues right here on AM 860.
Want to talk real estate auctions? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online at aflre.com. Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at askmrgreenthumb.com. Got questions on gardening, real estate, or both? Call now, 813-289-1860. Toll free, 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And we're here to help answer your questions. We've got a line or two open, which means you can hit your speed dialer. You want to give them the numbers?
Sure. You can always call in at 877-969-8600 or 813-289-1860. And we are here every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. And just a quick reminder to people, we do have an auction that is scheduled and ready to go off. That will take place on September the 12th. 2020, obviously, at 1 p.m. We'll be doing it on site. Now, we always encourage people to get there, at least an hour early so that you can take a look at the property and sign the registration paperwork. We try to get most people to sign the registration paperwork in advance. You can go to our website at aflre.com. You can go there and you can sign the pre-registration paperwork. But it's a minimum opening bid of $575,000, and it has a very low reserve. But when you see the property, we think we truly believe on this particular property that somebody will make a pre-auction offer in advance because we think we don't think it'll make it to auction because it's too nice of a property, it's too attractive of a price. So that is our humble opinion. But again, the property is at 3886 Crescent Cove Place in Tarpon Springs. So you put that into any Google search engine, and it'll pull up all kinds of information about the property. The Zillows and the Realtor.coms, they've got all the information at your fingertips, probably more information than most realtors would like them to have. But nonetheless, it is there, so we embrace it. But that'll be a fun one to handle. Great seller, and a great originating agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Florida Properties Group, Pam Davison. She's a great lady. Look forward to having her call in sometime to discuss the wonderful attributes of that home.
I think next week. Might also mention, someone asked me the other day, they said, hey, what about this gold watch or Rolex watch that I have? And I said, look, we don't do that type of, now there's a show after us, right after the Dr. Bill, who does a great show, by the way. I've been listening to his show now every week, and very entertaining. I always wonder, where he's going, and I'm not sure. He goes off in different tangents. Very obviously a history major because he does a great show as far as giving you information.
Oh, Dr. Handelman? Yeah, yes. There you go. Yeah.
Dr. Bill?
Yeah, very, very interesting guy.
And after him, there is Jeff does a show on auctioneering and for stuff. And if you've got like a, Rolex watch, if you've got
or
this and
coins,
got that, coins
maybe,
and whatever, he handles it all. And he seems to have a great knowledge base. I've listened to his show now, too. And I thought, and I'm throwing that out there in case you're wondering about that, you should listen in. I mean, all morning you're covered now on Sundays. You don't have to go anywhere else.
You've got gardening to great medical advice to figuring out what your baseball cards are worth at auction. Holy smokes.
Well, some of those cards could make you really rich.
I'm sure, yeah. None of the cards I own, but yeah, I mean, I always have like... last year's Rays player card. So I'm sure do they still sell cards with a gum
That's
in them?
That's a good question. I know when I was a kid, I had a bunch of cards. Actually, I gave most of them to Paul Druin when I was, he came. I knew he was collecting, and I wasn't. And he had that hobby with his sons, so I gave him a bunch of what I had when I was, anyway, a youngster. Used to hang Paul was such a great guy. He still is.
Sure.
And his
But
boys as
part
well.
of I would say a big difference between what we do in terms of when people are selling stuff, what I call it a stuff auction, is these guys have to become unbelievably good at doing research on the items. I mean, they have to go find out, well, how many of these were made, and and is this one unique? Was it and they have to go find out the backstory on the item, because when you know the story of an item, it increases its worth. And typically, and again, one of the reasons that I don't get into that is I don't have the time to do the type of research that requires, and I'm more interested in selling the real estate stuff, because that's more of what I know. That's my background, and that's what your background. So we get into selling the real estate end of things, and plus there's a different economic incentive too, in terms of I like the idea of selling properties where we're getting into $3, $4, $5, $6 up $1 million auctions, and of course we've sold things even above $1 million. So the idea here is it's a different way of going about the auction process, but again, at the heart of it, it is still an auction. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting too is the term hammer price. Hammer price is the price before anything is added to it. So it's just you drop the hammer, and again, we say hammer price. It's when you raise your arm down, and that indicates that the item has been sold to the high bidder, and that is the hammer price. So so it's interesting. And again, when you go to a stuff auction, there's going to be a price that will be negotiated in advance. Every auction house is different, but there'll be a price that they'll usually take a percentage of the item. Hey, if it sells, we'll do a 50-50 split, and plus then they'll, and I'm not saying every auction house does this, but a lot of them do it this way. There'll be a 50-50 split and on whatever it sells for, and then there will be a buyer's premium added to the final price of that item. And in real estate, that's one of the things that we've implemented, which is a buyer's premium. So we take a percentage of whatever we decide for that particular property. Like the one at 3886 Crescent Cove Place, there'll be a 6% buyer's premium added to the final hammer price to create the total purchase price of the property, and that's how we get paid. It's also how we make sure that we can pay a bidder buyer's agent on the day of auction. You'll notice a lot of real estate auction companies will only pay 1%. Well, we said the heck with that. We're going to double it. We're going to pay 2%. So at least there's a more likely of a chance of a buy-in if you get people, if you're going to pay them more correctly. And again, 1% is just not enough to get most real estate agents their attention to want to participate. So we're hoping that will grease the wheels, as they say.
And that's important. We want to make sure that we make everybody happy. That's what we try to do in our business. We're out there to be another tool in the toolbox, another arrow in the quiver, and that means we're there to try to help you. If you've got a particular problem or question, yes, I still do consulting work. I still go look at properties. I still try to help people with their trees and shrubs. Often I'm working for doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs, people who are used to paying somebody for their time, and that's what I do. And certainly that's another sidebar of what
Can you believe it? Another 2 hours has gone by.
We thank all the callers that called in today. We know we had a ton of folks on Facebook as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And YouTube.
A lot of good Facebook Live participation going on, so we encourage that. We are here every Sunday morning from 7 to 9. We look forward to answering your gardening and real estate questions next week.
You tell all your neighbors and friends, all the garden clubbers, all the folks out there, hey, the gardening guy is still here. Continue with us on AM 860, The Answer.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at askmrgreenthumb.com.